The President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, has reaffirmed his government's commitment to the protection and promotion of human and people's rights by aligning the governance structure with international human rights standards and justice. President Barrow was speaking at the opening ceremony of the 61st Ordinary Session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights at the Jama Hall. Mamadou Diallo reports on that.
Representatives of governments, non-governmental organizations, civil society and human rights activists from across the continent and beyond are attending the 61st Ordinary Session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. The event, which also coincides with the 30th anniversary of the Commission, brings together stakeholders to review and appraise the human rights situation on the continent. This year's event has added significance given the new political environment where the government has shown willingness to embrace and work with the Commission. This was acknowledged by some of the delegates who hailed it as a victory for human rights on the continent. Hannah Foster of the NGO Steering Committee said the two-week session provides a platform for discussions among stakeholders on how to address the human rights challenges facing the continent.
During the span of its 30 years, the Commission has led and continued to lead many undertakings to accompany states ameliorate the situation of human rights in Africa, and in so doing made imprints on the various areas of human rights by the creation of mechanisms that enhance the body of law as well as its implementation at the regional and national level.
Whilst it is believed that Africa has made remarkable progress in the protection and promotion of human rights, conflicts, terrorism, poverty and other abuses continue unabated in many countries. Pansi Tlakula, the chairperson of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, believes the Commission remains as relevant today as it was in 1987 when it was formed.
During my tenure at the Commission, the human rights landscape has changed significantly. Increased numbers of state parties ratified important regional and international human rights instruments. I would be remiss if I did not take this opportunity to commend His Excellency President Barrow and his government for recently signing the second optional protocol to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights on the abolition of the death penalty.
The EU Commissioner for Human Rights, Stavros Lambrinidis, argued that for human rights to be fully promoted and protected, governments need to strengthen their institutions to provide the necessary institutional and legal frameworks to advance the process. This, he added, must be complemented by working with stakeholder institutions like human rights organizations, NGOs and civil society groups.
At this time of celebration, it's maybe a time for also a commitment. I commit on behalf of the European Union as well to strengthen the capacities of the African Commission of Human and People's Rights, because it's one thing to give it powers, another thing to give it the capacity to be able to exercise them in the strongest possible extent.
The President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, acknowledged the tremendous contributions of the Commission and other advocates to the advancement of human rights in Africa and pledged to work with them to strengthen the human rights environment in the Gambia.
Conscious of the fact that human rights are undeniable and interdependent, my government has been working towards enhancing the lives of our citizens and ensuring that our obligations under the African Charter are fulfilled. My government has resolved to improve the country's legal and institutional environment and to align the entire governance structure with international justice and human rights standards.
He said that his government has already taken a number of steps to overturn the human rights deficits in the Gambia, including the signing of numerous international treaties at the United Nations, the strengthening of human rights provisions in the new Republican Constitution, and freeing of hundreds of political prisoners. Further steps to accelerate the process will be pursued, the President added to much applause.
There has been a considerable positive shift in the public space on the exercise of the right to freedom of speech and the media, which is vital in any genuine democracy. Presently, we are working closely with international human rights organizations for the total overhaul of the media laws to remove all repressive provisions that suppress the fundamental right to freedom to expression and opinion. My government also recognizes the need for the establishment of a National Human Rights Commission, which has been delayed over the past years. Efforts are currently underway to finalize the bill for the establishment of a National Human Rights Commission in compliance with the Paris Principle for the first time in the history of this country.
The President's statement effectively opened the session to allow delegates to continue their deliberations. This is the first time government is represented at such a high level. For organizers, it is a vindication of their persistence and resilience during trying times, when many called for the relocation of the Commission's headquarters due to the deteriorating human rights situation in the Gambia. Mamadou Diallo, GRTS News.